Welcome everyone to Tuesday Tea Time. I am cozy in my house. Winter is here. It's getting pretty wild out there. Lots of wind, lots of rain. So I am cozy in my tiny house, my bookshelf behind me. I'm in my hammock at the top of my tiny home. And here we are, the second Tuesday of the year. I promised that I would become more consistent with Tuesday Tea Times here in 2024, so I'm doing my best to stay on top of that. So what are we talking about today? I had a bit of an epiphany the other day about strength and weakness. It occurred to me that strength is something we all seek. We seek to be strong and stable and good partners and all of that. And that's good. We want our horses to be strong. We want ourselves to be strong. Strength is something we seek. But connection doesn't come from strength. Connection comes from weakness. Connection comes from a sense of two of us being stronger than one of us. And we're going to find out that while it's very, very good to be strong, and we want our horses to be strong, and we want ourselves to be strong, there has to be some motivator for connection. And the motivator for connection is the fact that we can be stronger together than we are apart. So thank you, Laurence. I'm glad you're here from Belgium. I'm glad you're here, Catherine, Joe. It is kind of fun to be doing tea time again. It was good to take a break, but I'm back now. So when we think about strength and weakness, this has an emotional component. This has a physical component, and this has a mental component. And what creates connection between a horse and a human, or a human and a human, is the fact that we're stronger together than we are apart. And what I'm starting to realize is that it is the seeking of the solving of problems, the seeking of the becoming stronger that creates connection. And we all crave connection. We're herd animals. We want to be connected to someone else. So for those of us who love horses as much as I do, that connection to a horse is something we seek. What is connection? And I'm going to give you some practical examples here. So let's just say, this is a really simple one that everyone experiences. Let's say your horse is really itchy. That is a weakness. It's a problem they need to solve. And you guys all know that if you can go itch them in just the right spot and help them solve that problem, it does bond you together. That is a source of connection where the two of you are more able to solve that problem than one of you. Now, this is an interesting example to bring up because I don't actually itch my horses that often. I would prefer to find other ways to develop our connection. And the reason for that is I want the horse to feel like they can connect to me and that their life is better because of me, but I don't want them to feel frustrated when they don't have me. And a lot of times horses that get very addicted to being itched by humans will be very frustrated when their human is not available to itch them. So the way that I like to work with strength and weakness is to find things that the horses could do on their own, but maybe they're not very good at yet. And when they do something on their own that they're not very good at, I make sure that I am there to back them up, to be with them, to be connected, to support them. But they know they can do it without me too. I am extra, but I am not necessary. So I'll give you another example. Let's say that my horse perhaps is really afraid of things blowing in the wind. This is a good subject because it's getting pretty windy here where I live. So when horses are really afraid of things blowing in the wind, I could stand between them and whatever they're afraid of, and that would be a good solution. My partnership to them is going to make their life better. Their weakness gives me an opportunity to make the two of us together stronger than one of us apart. However, let's say things are blowing in the wind and I walk over and I check on the bag that blew by in the wind, and I check on the bucket that got knocked over, and I check on the things, and then I come back to the horse. And then I go check on the things that are blowing around, and then I come back to the horse. And at some point, the horse gains a little bit of curiosity, and they start to go check on the things that are blowing in the wind. In that moment where they are developing those baby steps of going from weakness and fear to a little bit of strength and bravery, that's where I would match steps with them. That's where I would be the same as them. That's where I would give them confidence because of my connection to them. We together are stronger than either one of us alone. But even if I wasn't here, you probably could be this strong on your own too. That's the way I like to train. So I do believe connection comes from those moments of weakness, where we're not sure we can do things on our own, where we might feel vulnerable, where we might feel unsure. And then our partner is able to give us some confidence that we are stronger together than we are separate. But I never, ever want the horse to feel like they are lost without me. I never want the horse to feel like they have to be weak in order to gain connection with me. There's plenty of things that will make us feel weak. And then it works the other way around too. So one example that comes up is when you're riding, the faster you go, the more vulnerable you're going to feel as a rider. So for some people, that's when you pick up speed from a walk to a trot. For others, it's from a trot to a canter. For others, it's from a canter to a gallop. For others, it's when you start turning hard or fast at speed. Whatever it is that makes you feel vulnerable as a rider. When you feel that horse start to take care of you, you feel them start to adjust and smooth their stride or balance their turn so that riding is a little bit more effortless. You feel them take care of your vulnerability. That's where you start to feel more connected. Now, I never want a rider to feel like they need that. I want a rider to feel like, oh, this horse could buck or kick or play, and I would be fine. I could stay on. But it's so much better when that horse feels like, oh, my rider's become a little bit unbalanced. Let me take care of them. So that's an example of a rider having a moment of weakness. Now, not all of us are riders. There's going to be moments where you feel like you have a moment of weakness where maybe you're really sad. When Myrna died, I was heartbroken, 100% bereft, and I lost all sense of who I was. That gave my stallion Ari a chance to take care of me like he had never taken care of me before. He didn't know Myrna. They lived on separate properties. He'd never met her, but he knew that I was weak. I was weak and I was sad, and I didn't know what to do with myself. And in that moment, Ari spent so much time standing directly outside the glass door of my house, just waiting for me to come out the door and bury my head in his mane and cry all over again. And he gave me that sense that together we are stronger than you are alone. And it was in that moment of weakness that we had a huge burst of growth in our connection. Weakness comes in all sorts of forms. You don't have to go looking for it. You don't have to create it. But when it happens, whether it's weakness in the horse because they're afraid, they're frustrated, they're irritated, they're unstable in some way, that's an opportunity to offer them connection. And it goes the other way too. When us as humans, we're upset, we're unbalanced, we're emotional, it can be physical, mental, or emotional, any of those things. When we are a little bit weaker than normal, that right there is your opportunity for connection. But it's only going to happen because of all the times you've encouraged each other to be strong. So we're going to encourage our horses to be strong and capable and independent all the time. And they're going to encourage us to do the same. And then there's going to be some environmental influence that makes one of us weak. And at that point, where one in the partner steps up to take care of the other one, that's where you're going to have the biggest bursts of deeper connection. So it's just a little bit to think about. If you haven't built enough of a foundation, you might end up in situations where you feel really weak and your partner isn't ready to help you out. Don't blame them for that. Just know that you have a little bit more work to do building a foundation between you so that when there is a moment of weakness, you have the capability to help each other out. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, he's pretty special. He's very independent. He's very strong, and he expects me to be very strong too. That's what I think made that moment so incredibly profound, is we work on our strengths every day, and we don't have a whole lot of opportunity where we confront our weaknesses. But when they come up, he was right there for me. Laurent says, I found a good connection with Miss, who doesn't like to be touched or me close to her, just by talking to her and asking her if she wants to do something. And then she follows me and we go together. Yeah. So those moments of connection, possibly, Laurence, is where you told Miss you understood that one of her weaknesses is she doesn't like to be touched. And when you can show the horse that you understand, that is a difficulty, and I know how to work with it or work around it or help you with it or distract you from it or do something different from it, those are all opportunities for connection. Leo says, in the moments when I'm weak, I can see how good our connection is and how grown up Duncan is. Yeah. And there's a real opportunity for the growth of the connection between you in those moments where weakness comes up. I am going to keep encouraging everybody to work on strength, stability, strength physically, mentally, emotionally, because the stronger each of us are, the better we can help when it's needed, both the horse and the human. But if you're feeling like maybe you're not very connected to your horse, which certainly is the case some of the time for me with Ari, it's probably because you haven't experienced those moments where weakness gives the opportunity for connection. And that's something to think about a little bit. I'm not going to push for those moments. There's enough of them as it is. They happen naturally. We take our moments as we get them. I'm still going to work on strength most of the time, but I'm going to know that those really deep connections come from weakness. Let's see who else commented here. Adele says, Eric and I found each other when we lost Yellow, and it was so deep. Yeah, I bet. That's a powerful change for you guys, Del. Julie says, possibly a segue for another day, but I'm currently writing about the difference between connection and draw. I'd love to hear your take on it. Yeah, that would be a fun conversation, Julie. I'm going to take you up on that whenever you're ready. That would be great. Annie says, I'm still learning to really listen to my horses, listen, accept, and let go of my plans. I learned already a lot, and I still find finer communication and much more of how I'm sticking to my plans, and it's hard for me to let go. I believe the more I can listen to them, the more they will listen to me. Yeah, exactly. We give to them the things we hope that they give back to us. And it's just a back and forth of communication all the time. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. When it's hard, that shows a weakness. And that's okay. It's okay to be weak. The question is our partner strong enough to support us through that moment of weakness? And if they're not, we have some more strength building to do. So that the next time it comes up where I'm not good at something or something's hard for me, mentally, physically, or emotionally, is my partner strong enough to support me through that moment? That's where our deepest connection is going to come from. Thank you guys so much for joining me for tea time. I'm going to leave you with those thoughts today, and I will be back same time next week. Let me know if there's any particular thoughts you'd like me to talk about. Put them in the comments. I'll go ahead and keep a list going, and see you next week.